Well, hello, true gardeners. Welcome back. So if you guys have been researching and you're looking around for some ideas on how to create a low maintenance front yard garden, then you have just hit the jackpot. Well, I think so anyway. Today's garden is a beautiful front yard low maintenance garden. I picked some of my favorite plant material to work in here. Then the layers that we planted them in are going to offer my clients a very, very low maintenance overall garden for all seasons with tons and tons of color. I'm going to do what I normally do. I'm going to walk you guys through the garden. I'm going to share with you the plant and the tree names and the reasons why I put what where. So you're kind of getting some inside tips from a landscape designer's brain, giving you guys some good ideas of what to do and what to plan for in your garden. So let's jump right in and get started. So starting right here at the front driveway area, this lot is a corner lot. Bryce, kind of give everybody a good visual, kind of pan out and kind of show exactly what we're looking at here. So this front yard was very, very important for my clients to really have some impact, but also not just be over the top with so many tropicals that it was going to cause them a little bit more work than they wanted involved in. This is a very, very sunny front yard. So there's a lot of material here that's going to give them tons of great color. On either side of the driveway here, I've got some beautiful Montgomery palms. I don't get to use them very often, so I was really excited to use them in the front yard. I think they do a nice job of kind of giving some stature, giving some impact to a very tall front entranceway. They look somewhat similar to Christmas palms. The biggest difference is the fronds are going to be a little longer. They're going to kind of come out a little bit wider to give it a much bigger canopy. They're going to grow quite a bit taller. So they're going to give you a good deal of size at around 30, 35 foot in height. So they're going to give you some great size. The benefit to them, they're like Christmas palms where they're self-cleaning. So if that's kind of the palm tree you're looking for and you want a nice big grand entrance of a palm, but not something like a foxtail palm that just gets too big or too giant at the base. If you're wanting something more slender, a little bit more graceful, then Montgomery palms might really be up your alley. We brought these guys in here about at 14 to 15 foot tall, so they kind of already have some good impact, but they've got ways to go to become a tropical landscape. So my clients, Roger and Sheila, I love them to death. I've worked with them on a previous home. This is their second home that we've landscaped for them. And they really like that tropical look, but they really like clean lines, so I know exactly what direction to go in. When they purchased this house, the original or previous owners had a very heavy landscape. So just to give you guys a little bit of a backstory on that, a lot of us have that situation where we're moving into a home and the style is maybe just not your style. And you're wondering, it's alive, it's doing okay, should I keep it, should I not? And they were in the same boat. There's a lot that we eliminated from the landscapes. They had some big trees real close to the house, just a little bit too heavy for what they were looking for. But most importantly, it's about the care involved. So what they originally had a lot of a hodgepodge material with a lot of different layers in it, which made the trimming almost like a constant level because it was hard to kind of keep things separated, keep things not being too messy, keep things not growing into one another. The trimming on this particular landscaping is about max 4 times a year. So every 3 months, you want to do a little bit of trimming. And that's probably a low maintenance garden for Florida standards. Moving on from our focal point trees. So you guys know how I love these anchors. We've got some beautiful Montgomery palms like I mentioned. Over on this side, although this tree looks dead right here, this is a white crepe myrtle. In the next couple months, it's really going to come into its own. It's got a great canopy shape, so I know that it's going to be full of tons and tons of blooms. That is a great single trunk. Now, when they're single trunk like that, they're called a standard, and that is the white variety. Over on the opposite side, that is a multi-trunk variety crepe myrtle, and you can see that it's just a tad bit different. This is actually a bush that's been turned into a tree to give you that multi-trunk kind of look, but this is into the watermelon pink coloring, so it's absolutely going to be a gorgeous backdrop to our pygmy date palms here. People ask me all the time, like, why are some singles and why are some have a lot of different trunks to it? Because most of the time, the multi-trunk varieties of a lot of trees are original bushes that have been created and stemmed out to be trees. But the standard variety is going to have a dominant leader. It's going to have a dominant caliber. And in most cases, it's because it was meant to be a tree, it's going to have a little bit of a stronger constitution. It's going to really hold up, and that canopy is going to be much, much larger over time. So if you're looking for a standalone tree and you want a nice big canopy to it, many a times that standard trunk is probably going to be the way to go. This is going to be a lovely backdrop, kind of oversized bush for this particular location, so that's what we wanted. But over on the opposite side, we wanted a tree. We want oomph, we want impact, and that's exactly what that tree is going to do for us.
Hey you guys, Bryce here. I just wanted to pop this in real quick and ask if you could like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps show your support and keep these videos going. Also, if you're enjoying the video, please drop a true gardener in the comments. And if you're looking for any help with designing your space, or you have some questions, or you want a master plan created, or you even want a design and installation done, head over to our website. We have 3 short videos that break down our 3 services so you can see which option works best for you. In those videos, we'll go over pricing and locations for the state of Florida. And if you're looking for any products mentioned in this video, we have a link that takes you directly to our Amazon storefront where you should be able to find everything. And also, if you're looking to build your own plant palettes, we also have a link that takes you to our book that helps walk you through designing your own space. Thanks so much for your support, and let's get back to the video.
So as we work our way in, so we mentioned the taller material, but now it's time for the intermediate stuff, the stuff that kind of gives you the depth. And that's when you're looking for a low maintenance garden. You want to make sure that you're not going too crazy with that intermediate material. You can do something like hibiscus. Maybe you want to stay with the tree versus a bush because you don't want that bush to be all wonky and crazy. I've got a European fan palm right here because it grows so slow. This guy grows about, 6 inches, 5 to 6 inches a year. It's very, very slow in growth. And when you hear of something growing so slow, what that really kind of means is that you trim it very little because the growth is so small, you're doing very little to it. And I love the spherical look of this tree. I just kind of love this kind of rounded shape. Now, many a times, because Europeans in the nurseries, they're one of the lower maintenance things. They don't need a bunch of spraying. They don't need a bunch of trimming. They don't need a bunch of fertilizing. So what happens is some nurseries will have them, they'll just kind of be left over to the side. There's a mix of good quality and bad quality. So when you're looking for a European fan palm, you want to make sure that it has a nice shape. That means all the little trunks are doing what they're meant to do. As this tree grows, it's going to grow like this with all of these individual trunks. It's got a center dominant trunk here with little pups on the side that produce that kind of nice rounded shape. So when it comes to this particular tree, what you're looking for is the shape and a nice coloration. So these guys are fantastic to pop into a little area that you don't want to overgrow, like in front of this window here. Now, because this is so rounded and has such a great kind of frond, like a little bunch of little windmills, I got to do something very clean lines on either side of it because, again, you guys know how I love to frame things. There's that contrast of leaf color. So we've got some very young Japanese blueberry trees. They're going to be nice and vertical right here. I'd love to see them about 8 to 10 foot tall as our side pieces here, almost like as columns coming up to the front. Because this house has columns coming up the front door, I wanted to kind of replicate that vibe, replicate that feel. So when you're looking at your garden, think about your house and exactly how it situates. If you've got a nice vertical front entrance with just a little bit of architectural detail on either side of the doorway, replicate that. Bring in something like 2 trees by the driveway. Bring in something like that, 2 trees on either side of the front entrance. If you replicate that feel all the way through, it's like it becomes a seamless vibe. It becomes a seamless kind of, you're like, I love that. I like that look. It's so clean. It's so crisp, but it looks good. It looks like there's a lot of detail going on in there. And that's kind of how to make things low maintenance, is paying attention to the house, paying attention, working with what your architecture gives you. Speaking of architecture, now, the footprint that these guys do. I know you guys see these all the time in my videos, and some of you love them and some of you hate them. But when I'm looking for something to give me some attitude, something to give me some impact, but I cannot bring in something that's going to be tons of maintenance, I do something like these false agaves. I've got 3 false agaves in this garden, just kind of as we have more of a low planting through the rest of this area, having the false agaves pop up out of that low material, it does that, almost like a statue in the garden. So having a little bit of that vertical pop amongst this lower material does such a nice job of drawing your eye. Now, some good alternatives, if you do not love false agaves, I'm not writing you off because I can understand we not all have the same likes and dislikes, but those of you guys, those 3 people out there who do not like these guys, try Orange Bird's Paradise. If you have a little bit more room, Dayun palms are fabulous. If you have a little bit more shade and it's not full sun like it is here, you can do something like a bromeliad fashion, like a silver odorata popping out of the middle of it, or a imperialis bromeliad popping out of the middle of it, a big clustering of bird's nest ferns, something that's going to give you that vertical pop. I guess you get the point, right? Anything that's going to give you that dynamic feel, anything of the sort that's going to give you a little bit of attitude amongst the more mundane plantings. Because what happens is if you do a drift of gold mound or podocarpus or foxtail ferns, then it's just a drift. It's just almost like a hedge, you know, one hedge going one way, one hedge going another way. But if you can do that and then offer a break of an accent material that draws your eye, and then do a little bit more of your drift, and then a break, and then do a little bit more of the drift and then a break. And then you take those drifts that you're doing of plants and you change the color palette or the leaf palette of it. Now that makes the garden really come together. And I think that's what takes it from a lot of the projects that where it's more of a production landscape or a builder's package to more of an artistic design. This is living art, you guys. Play with it. The whole goal is to mix colors and textures, and you just want to make sure that you understand the plant material well enough that you're pairing the right material together. And that's kind of why I try to stress that. And if you need a little bit more help than that, then you guys know I have a book out. The book has a lot of my favorite plants and trees, tough things in Florida that do so well. So if you're interested in checking that out, it will be linked in the description down below. All right, so the rest of the plant groupings that I have here, I've kind of jockeyed it up a little bit. So we've got some yellow alamandas, you know, and I'm a little upset with these guys because I see buds everywhere, but the blooms have not popped up yet. So I mean, we got an occasional bloom here and there, but these guys are going to be covered with that tulip-like yellow bloom. And when does it do it? It does it all year long. We've got winter, we've got summer, we've got spring. I mean, these guys, they don't care what season it is. They pop out with blooms as long as they're happy. And they're going to be happy in this type of environment. We have them wrapping around the front of this Japanese blueberry tree, curving just like this. They're curving around this European fan palm, and then they stop. So we have them kind of on the sides where we need a little bit of support from our accent feature. So this is where our height's gonna come in at 3.5 foot tall, a nice little grouping of dark green with yellow color. Okay, so when we have yellow, and we have a lot of it, it's awesome to have a break. Now, my clients like the podocarpus vibe, so this is Pringle's podocarpus. These are the dwarf variety of podocarpus, not the big lanky ones. These guys will connect together and become a dark green grouping. And you only need a few of these guys so you're almost like you're making an impression. We've got soft, glossy leaves with the alamandas. And then when you have that, I'm always looking for a contrasting leaf. And there's no more contrasting leaf than these podocarpus right here. I mean, I just love this kind of texture in here. It really shows off a different look. And if you're not a podocarpus fan, you can use something like dwarf collusia, you can use Carissa boxwood. What I like about this particular group is how low maintenance it is. Pringle's podocarpus is so low maintenance. It grows so slow. It's almost like you put it there and you're like, any day now, could you grow? So it's gonna take a little while for these guys to connect, but once they do, they connect, they stay nice and solid, and they just really become a dark green border. So this dark green border is gonna be the forefront to the backing of these yellow alamandas. Then we come in with some chartreuse, another type of texture in the leaf with these beautiful foxtail ferns. So these foxtail ferns are a completely different look, nice and vertical, nice and spriggy, just a completely different look and so not formal like the Pringle's podocarpus. That's the goal, is having that mix of texture to really play with. The next plant grouping we have here is another curved fashion around your centerpieces. So around the false agaves, I've got a nice curved grouping of gold mound, and that's exactly what they're gonna do. They're gonna just offer that bit of brightness right there. And then right here, we have a lovely propane tank that we had to deal with. So this needs access all the time. So it normally, naturally, I would take those gold mounds and I would stagger them all through here to make like a really dense bit of bright color right here. But because of this, you know, the situation, you got to work with what you got to work with. So these bulbines do a fabulous job of kind of being a nice little bit of softness from the street, but obviously allow you to lift this tank and get in here. And you know, that's real life, you guys. So many times when I'm dealing with and working with clients and I'm kind of working in their front yard and they're like, you know, I hate the fact that this is here. Can we just cover it? Can we put a boulder, a fake boulder over top of it? Or can we put plants over it? Or can we leave it out of the garden and push the garden back and just kind of leave this black lid here? And I would say no to all of those type of things. The way I like to do it is I always like to incorporate them because I don't want a mower running it over and I don't want it to be out in the grass when everything else is beautiful, because you can see it. You're always going to see it. So what I try to do is leave access to it and then plant around it. So this will all grow in, and then you'll very little chance you'll see a little hint of this unless you're looking for it. And if you're looking for it, then you need to access it. So that's kind kind of the goal there. So incorporate it into your bed, and I think you're gonna like it a lot better. Sometimes trying to hide something can make you zero in on it too much. So the best thing to do is just work with it. All of this plant material that you see that I just mentioned, the alamandas, the Pringles podocarpus, foxtail ferns, the gold mound, all of that is 3-gallon material. You do not have to have giant material. You want your focal points to have some size to it, but all your plant material, you can start with a fairly young crop of plant material. When you're placing your plant material, you find your pattern that you're gonna work with, so that way you have a seamless pattern, but you wanna plant things about 2 foot on center. That's the average distance that you wanna plant. So from the center of each plant to the next center of each plant should be 2 foot, and that's what gives you an adequate amount of distancing. So everything really grows in well together at the same time. You kind of have just a nice harmony of all your plants. When I do yellows and I do greens and I do, I love this variation in color, you want to kind of find a dark contrasting color. So whatever that might be for you. Some of you guys might, if you have full sun, I have dwarf ixoras here, but you can use something like the Helen Johnson bougainvilleas, the Mammy crotons. You can use anything along those lines that you want to stay compact, but the goal is to make sure that you stay in the same kind of family of low maintenance plants. You don't want to pop these guys in and then throw in a bunch of blaze copperleaf in the middle, knowing that the blaze copperleaf are going to take over. So the goal here was to make sure all this 3-gallon material that's in the front is going to stay lower than the 3-gallon material to the back. So right here we've got the alamanda that are going to get taller than the Pringles podocarpus. And then the foxtail ferns are always gonna stay smaller than the Pringles podocarpus, and then the gold mound's always gonna stay smaller. You can kind of see the pattern, right? Everything from the back is higher and it tears down to the front. And I do that all the way through. So right here we have a sea of dwarf ixoras that, yes, are not in bloom either, but when they're gonna be in bloom, they're going to be lovely here. The dwarf ixoras come to here. And then the other things that are not in bloom back there are red hibiscus. Sheila loves hibiscus. So we have a big, nice grouping of red hibiscus behind that pygmy date palm. Because you guys know I do not love the legs of pygmy date palms. So I want that hibiscus wall back there to really engulf the base of this tree. These guys will get to 2.5 foot. Those hibiscus will get to 4 to 5 foot. So they're really filling this whole back section here and really tie in nicely with becoming the final backdrop to this whole landscape bed. Now, I know you guys, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, hibiscus are not low maintenance. Well, in this particular situation, they are. And that's kind of what I'm trying to share with y'all on how to create this low maintenance garden, because a lot of the times it's about the placement of the plant, right place. If I had taken those red hibiscus and I put them in the front by that propane tank, there would be no chance that it's going to be kept small enough and nice enough and full enough to live there for any length of time, right? But back here, where I want them to do what they're meant to do, where I want them to get good size, I want them to be 4 or 5 foot tall. I want them to be the backdrop, because all their kind of covering back here is going to the rear part of the house. So having a wall of hibiscus, almost my size here, like this, underneath this palm tree, a big wall of green with bright red blooms, I think is going to be a showstopper back here. So having these guys in the perfect spot is going to make them low maintenance in this garden. So we've got a 5 foot down to a 2.5 foot to a 3.5 foot there, down to 2 foot, down to 1 foot. You kind of see this whole pattern, and that's what makes a garden low maintenance. A lot of times people think it's, well, let me find a bunch of low-lying material that just won't grow fast. But most of the time, if you want an interesting landscaping, if you pair this kind of combination of plants together, then you can really create a beautiful landscaping and still keep it nice and low care, where you're not out there being a weekend warrior in your garden all the time. The final thing to make this thing low maintenance, actually it's the final 2 things to make this thing low maintenance. I love this stone. I love Tahitian gray granite. You guys know, I wish I invented it. I would put it everywhere. I love it. I feel like it goes with everything, with its nice variation in color. But most of all, I like the way it sits in a garden. A lot of round rock has a tendency to really be so porous and so open. But this stone, this mix of material, I don't know, I could jump on this. This is a nice compact base. It does such a good job of becoming a bedding plant. It really helps with the weeds. It sits on the weed matting really, really well, so I know I've got a good thick dose of it. And this is my favorite size for landscaping beds. This is the 1 to 1.5 inch variety. So if you guys are in your rock yards, it's my favorite size for a landscape bed. However, if you're doing it for a walkway, you could use this size, but you could also go with a smaller size. The little 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch is just as pretty. It gives you that same coloration, but it's a little bit easier to walk on. It kind of knits together even better. But no matter which size of Tahitian gray granite you're going to use, you want to pair it with the right edging. This is a low maintenance edging product. You guys know I love the Viera edging. This is the sandstone variety in the medium size. There's a taller size and a lower size, but this is my favorite medium size. I love the coloration. I feel like it's handpicked for my Tahitian gray granite. They go together so nicely. But there are multiple colors available. This just happens to be one of my favorite. I love the way this looks because of how easy it goes with so many different colors in the garden and for individual homes. And I think it goes so well with the paver combination that we have here. But what I love most about it and what this video, and the reason why I chose to use it on this particular home is because our goal was low maintenance. Everything low maintenance. And that's a big part of it. If you're gonna put stone in, make sure to fasten it and keep it contained with the proper edging, something that a mower can run over top of, something that a lawn maintenance guy can weed whack against. I mean, the goal is to kind of make it one and done, and that way it's a fixed product. So that's what I love about the Viera edging. And then if Sheila is anything like me and she decides she wants to add another tree over here or here or here, then the great thing about this edging, it's not like the concrete edging or some of the other flagstone edging. It can be picked up easily and then add a section and then create a new bed with it. So I love the fact that you have some versatility with it. Now, the last low maintenance thing that I have in the garden here are my big coquina boulders. You guys, I've been using these a lot lately because, I mean, it's no maintenance. These are fabulous. They look great in the garden. The landscaping, it really kind of helps dial in your corners really well. So if you've got that kind of corner area, and maybe you don't have another accent feature you want to put in, you want to put in something like this. If you can put in a boulder, it just mixes the textures. So we've got rock, we've got edging, we've got plants, we've got agaves, we've got all these different contrasts and textures. When this bed comes together, when everything grows in really well together, these boulders are going to be almost those things that your eye lands on. And I just think that is so cool. That's what I love using them. Anytime you can mix things in the garden, different elements. And I'm talking about even, you know, bird baths or bird feeders or anything like that that kind of just draws your eye to it and it kind of changes an element in the garden. I think that's where personality and creativity comes in. So go at it, go do it. So if you guys enjoyed the tips that I shared in this video, then check out this video where I did an even deeper dive into the whole design process. Thank you guys so much for joining us and take care. I will see you next week in next week's garden tour.